Today's fast-paced, technology-driven world, stress is such a part of our life, we cannot get away from it, it seems. It's so easy to feel overwhelmed and anxious about deadlines and completing our action items. And as a result, we struggle to maintain our energy levels. We struggle to maintain our productivity levels throughout the day and throughout the week. So I have good news for you, though. And that good news is that we can overcome that stress. We can increase our productivity. We can keep our energy level up. It's simple, and it's simpler than it seems. So that's the good news, that it's simple. It's not easy. So I didn't say easy. I said simple. And we're going to talk about a tool tonight that brings the whole month together. You see, during this month, we've talked about planning our week, identifying our big rocks and knowing how to build a roadmap for them. We've talked about naming our tasks and understanding how to get them to be actionable very easily, categorizing them so we know, and using context. Tonight, we're going to use Google Tasks. I'm going to talk about that to bring it all together and using a tool that we all have access to. I'm Florence Donald. I'm your host, and this is the Purposeful Productivity Show, and on YouTube, I'm known as Equip Institute. Welcome. Glad to have you here. So glad to have you in the building tonight. And so before I get into the content, the tips, the tricks, and the hacks, I am going to talk about, and let's see who's out there. See who's listening. And of course, I'm going to start with, and I'm going to crack up. I'm going to start with Mr. Walter Strong, hashtag Mute Nation. Yes, the t-shirt is coming. Hashtag Mute Nation. Absolutely. And we're going to go on over to Tech Troublemaker. He eats stress for breakfast, y'all. Okay. Glad to know you eat stress for breakfast. And so glad to have this young lady, Lisa Maria, back in the building with us. So happy that you're here with us. And Tech Troublemaker also said, let's go. And I'm going to put this up here just because it's fun to do, and hashtag Mute Nation. I was muted at the beginning, but that's okay. We have Frank Jackson in the building with us, all the way from Maryland, and one of our moderators, and we have the Emotional CEO in the building with us. Also, they are on it, being moderators, letting me know when I'm off track. So thank you all so much for being in the building. So I want to talk about this Google Tasks, because it is a simple tool, but it's a tool that can help us manage our daily tasks and reduce stress. We're talking about less stress with Google Tasks, because you can use this tool to streamline your workflows, prioritize your tasks effectively, set goals, and increase your efficiency in every area of your life. And one of the reasons I talk about this is because stress is so prevalent. And what happens is it hinders our productivity. And where does it come from? So our brain creates shortcuts naturally. It's what it does. It creates shortcuts to conserve energy. If you've ever had the experience of driving someplace that you go frequently, or driving home, and you didn't consciously make the decision to make a left turn, right turn, to stop, but you got home anyway, maybe you were daydreaming, listening to a podcast, whatever the case may be, your brain has already created shortcuts to know what to do. When you get in a car, you don't consciously say, pull this down, turn the key, press this pedal. Your brain has created those shortcuts. The same thing happens in our productivity system. When we have one, our brain gets used to seeing what we're supposed to do, and it creates shortcuts. Well, when you don't have a system, or your system is broken, whatever you use, it's broken, what happens is your brain goes into flight or fright mode. fight or flight mode, which is a reaction to you're not doing something that I'm familiar with and I don't know what to do with it. That's where the stress comes in. It creates all kinds of reactions in our body. If you've ever found yourself doing this, and I did it today, holding your head, that is a symptom that you're under stress and your brain is not functioning. It has defaulted back to that survival mode and it's trying to figure out what to do. You get tired. That's where the low energy comes from. You can have other symptoms like headaches and just being fatigued. I said get tired, being fatigued, headaches, body aches, all of those things, those reactions is your brain responding to not being able to use the shortcuts to know what to do. It's having to work too hard and it's put you in this survival mode. So to understand that that's what's happening, the other thing, when it happens, of course, our body gets flooded with stress hormones. So for the individual who said they eat stress for breakfast, you don't want stress hormones raging through your body all the time, right? So it starts to shift our energy, shift our capacity to make decisions, shift our ability to process information, get rid of our creativity because it's having to work to just simply survive. That's why I wanted to bring this out. All the systems and tricks and hacks in the world won't help if we don't understand this one part of not having a system that your brain trusts, which means you trust it and that works for you. So overall, I'm suggesting that a simple tool that we all have access to. I'm not saying go buy a whole bunch of stuff. I'm not saying learn a whole bunch of new systems and databases and things. Some of us have those, some of us use them. But just about everyone who's listening or watching, who's a part of the live tribe, who's a part of the replay crew, all of us have access to this one simple application, Google Task. If you have a Gmail account, you don't have to be on the business account. You can be on the commercial Gmail account and you have access to it. Many people I've talked to ignore it, or they don't even know that this capability is in the tool. It's over on the right-hand side, and I'm going to kind of talk you through setting it up. So if you're someplace where you can get to a laptop screen or a desktop screen or a browser, it could be a good time to do that. So it's intuitive. Some things about it. It's intuitive. And let me just tell you what I'm going to go over. I talked about reducing stress and what causes stress. And I'm introducing Google Tasks to you now. I'm going to go over 6 points here. And it's intuitive. That's one thing. It integrates with Gmail, Calendar, Google Docs, Google Sheets, all of the Google suites. So if you work in that world, then this is a capability or a tool that's already there. And one of the things I love about it is you can simply take an email that has an action for you and drag it, and it drops it right in the task list. You don't have to forward, you don't have to copy and paste, you don't have to retype, you don't have to do any of that. You don't have to leave it in your inbox, because once you drag it over into that task tray, it links the email directly in the task. So if you want to go back to the email, you just click on it, and no matter where it's archived in your mail system, it'll go right to it. So what are some benefits that you have? That's really it. It's very easy to use, and it's integrated with something that you're already in. There are 2 ways to get to use this tool. One is using the browser. If you use Safari or Chrome or Edge or Firefox, DuckDuckGo, whatever browser you use to get to Gmail, you can use Google Tasks from it. There's also a mobile app that you can use. And so you can put the mobile app on your phone or on your tablet, and you have access directly to it. So if you use Gmail or Google Docs or Google Sheets or Google Slides or any of those on your mobile device, not your native mail app, but the Google apps, then you have access to it. I want to talk about 10 features. I'm going to go over these a little bit later, but 10 features that make it very useful. You can categorize action items and projects into separate lists. So this is list-based. So you create lists, you can categorize it. I'm going to suggest you use some lists that you want to create. You can set due dates. You can set recurring dates. You can set reminders. I mentioned you can drag an email into an action item and maintain the link to the email directly in it. You can add details in the note comment area. I showed that last week when I talked about making your task actionable by using verbs. You can indent action items beneath each other, making a hierarchy. You can star those action items to make some that are higher priority than others. You can reorder them so you don't have to leave them the way they're ordered. You can shove them up and down the list. You can move action items between lists. And if you don't work on a digital tool, your computer, your tablet, your phone, and you want to see the list printed, you can print it to a PDF. You can print it to paper. You can, if you put it on a PDF, then you can pull it into something like Notability and write on the screen. So those are some of the capabilities that are right in the tool, and you don't have to do anything to turn them on. They're just there and you can use them. So wanted to get that to you. The other things that I want to talk about is later I'm going to share some tips and tricks, and I'm going to talk about, I've talked about it, but I want to make sure you get this. Using this simple tool creates efficiency and peace of mind. Why do I say that? You've got one place in a tool that's easy to use. You can access it anywhere you are working, on your tablet, on your computer, on your phone. So mobile devices as well as computers. That gives you efficiency. You don't have to look for it. And at worst case, you can print it and carry it in your pocket. Right? So doing all of that is how you get to reducing stress, because what happens is your system, your application, your action tracker has everything in it that you want to do, you say you need to do, you should do, which I don't like those should do's, but it's all in one place, and you can categorize it in a way that you can work with it, and you can know for sure that you're not forgetting anything. I'm going to just leave it there, and I'm going to answer questions tonight. So if you excuse me. I'm sorry for hurting your ears. I apologize. I didn't know that was coming. If you have questions, please put a Q colon in front of your question and leave it, and I'm going to come back to them. We've already started getting questions in the comments, so great to get those questions to tonight. So overall, it's simply an excellent tool to use, and it saves you time as well, because you don't have to look for where your task is, what it looks like, can you get to it. You don't have to think about any of that. And because it's so straightforward, you don't have to invest a lot of time in learning to use the tool. Okay? So let me give you an example of how you may want to use it. Let's say you have a report that you generate every week, and you've got a bunch of subtasks. You need to research some information. You need to write an outline. You need to draft the report. You need to edit the report. Your process is then you send the report to someone else to preview before it gets published. So you're waiting for it to come back, and then your final step is you publish the report. Right in Google Task, you can have prepare report, TPS report, right? And all of those steps you can put as subtask, and you can track your progress, work through your process, and make sure that you're not stuck, you forgot a step, or overlooked a step, or just didn't do it at all because you forgot about it because you were running around doing so many other things and taking care of so many other tasks. Another great thing about Google Task is there are several keyboard shortcuts. So if you're on a keyboard and you are a person who prefer to use the keyboard like me, you can use keyboard shortcuts, which also means if you have a Stream Deck, you can program those features in your Stream Deck and just push a button. That is one of my favorite parts. If it has a shortcut, I can put it on my Stream Deck. Y'all don't have to touch, don't have to remember, just put it on the Stream Deck. Think about how much time you save not having to remember shortcuts, not having to move a mouse around. Just put it on the Stream Deck, hit the button, you're good to go. So before I get into it, let's go ahead and get this question answered. And the question is, can Google Tasks be added to the Google Grid on our desktop page so that we can click on the grid? It is there. You're talking about the priority, the workspace. I haven't tested that. I'll test it and get back to you. I know that you can put it into your calendar. I haven't tested because I don't use that priority page, so I haven't tested that, but I'm willing to test it and let you know. So I'll be very frank with you. It never occurred to me to do that. That's an interesting use case. So I'm going to figure that out, and I will definitely get an answer back to you because it won't take me long to test it. And Tech Troublemaker, someone said he's a troublemaker, and he is, because he said, I feel strange if my cortisol levels are low. Help him. Somebody help him. We love him. Anyway, so let's get into a little bit of how to enable this thing, a little practical application. I said what you want to do is go to your browser and log into your Google account, whether it's a business account or the consumer account. In this case, both will work. You can also go to calendar.google.com. That's one way to get to it quickly, especially if you're going to link things to your calendar. In the right-hand column, if you go to the calendar, in the left-hand column, you'll see an option that says task. If you click on that box, the checkbox next to the task, it will open up a tray on the right-hand side with the task there. That's really how simple it is to get on the application and get to Google Task. And that task list will sit over in that right-hand tray, regardless of what you're in, whether you're in Mail, whether you're in the calendar or another app. That's where it naturally resides. Then once you open up the app, what I'm going to suggest to you are some lists the first thing you want to do before you start putting tasks into it is I'm going to suggest some lists to you and explain the reason I'm suggesting each one. The first list you want to create, and you'll see an option that says create list, is a list called inbox. The inbox is just like the inbox, the old-fashioned in tray on your desk. the inbox in your email, inbox in a whole bunch of applications, because that capability or that feature has become so prevalent. Naming it. And that's your natural landing place when you're just brain dumping and capturing action items for your tracker to be tracked. You're not organizing, you're not sorting, you're not renaming, you're just getting something down. I heard a content creator this week talk about if you're on the train, or if you're waiting for your family at the mall, or at Starbucks, pulling out your system and just doing some work on your mobile device. Well, if you've got your mind is full of actions that you want to do and it won't let go, put them in that inbox. You can sort through it later. The next list that I would create is one called areas of focus. This gets to, and you could almost call this my big rocks or my sharpen the saw. These are the things, the parts of our lives that they don't ever end. Our self-care doesn't end. It's every day. Our home maintenance is every day. Vehicle maintenance is every day. For some of us, feeding family may be an everyday activity. Morning routines we're going to talk about later because I'm going to share another, but just areas of our life where there's ongoing all the time things that we need to get done, but they're not a project that will start and stop. They just go on. This is like the operating part of your life and operating part of your business. It just happens over and over and over. You got to wash the dishes. You got to do the laundry. You got to wash the car, those kinds of things. That's the areas of focus. So break those down in there as sub areas. So I'll give you some examples, some more examples. If you are a nonprofit leader, maybe you lead a ministry, or you work in your HOA, or you've got some other community cause that you're a part of and you work in, those are areas where you've got routine things that you have to do all the time. And so that could be an area, those nonprofit areas. In your spiritual life, your faith life, that's an area of your life, especially your own personal spiritual development is specific to you. I said your home, you could break it up. It could be your family, close friends, relationships, those are some examples of areas to consider. The other two lists that I recommend you create is projects and routines. Projects are things that are going to are just that. They have a beginning and an end. They're going to start and they're going to finish. Some examples is every week me putting together this live stream is a project. Once it's done, I don't go back and redo this particular project. It has a beginning and an end. I may have a bigger project of redecorating a room, or hanging curtains, or taking a class, or a speaking engagement, or a guest appearance. All of those are projects. They are going to start and they're going to end. You may do that kind of activity for someone else or for another time, but that discrete item has a beginning and an end. Routines are things like your morning routine and your evening routine. In an earlier live stream, I shared I've got a morning startup routine, and really I have 3 evening shutdown routines because I separate them. Those are things, they're my habits. That's a better way to put it. They're my habits. So reading 10 pages a day, that kind of thing. They're more of that. You got to do things like brush your teeth, take a shower, comb your hair, wash face. Hopefully you don't have to put those on your list, but if you do, please do. So those are routines. Make those for a list, and then you can begin to break down your work in this simple tool. So that's that part of the system. What I want to do is give you time to start thinking about your productive win of the week. Your productive win of the week. What did you do this week, or what did you experience this week that in some way it removed friction in your system, or it caused you to reduce stress in your life because of a change you made in your system, or it worked out really well? You all hear me say we're good at beating ourselves up. Let's get really good at celebrating what we accomplish. So start thinking now and put those wins in the chat, please. So if you have questions, I want to get you started. Also give you an opportunity, start putting additional questions in chat. If you have whatever questions you have about reducing stress in your system, using Google Task in your system, and I will be glad to answer it. So, what are your action steps coming out of tonight? I would say your action steps are very simple. Enable Google Task, set up the 4 lists that I shared with you, and then particularly in your area of focus, start breaking down the areas of your life so that you can focus. And then if you use a mobile device, put the app on your mobile device, because it syncs your computer, your mobile device, your iPad, all of that, they all sync together. And then just start using it. Just simply start using it. If you don't have something that you use today, or if what you're using today is not working and you're floating between this thing and that thing and the other thing, and that floating between different systems is not intentional. I'm being very specific here when I say not intentional. You all have heard me say, if you've ever listened to me, I actually use paper and digital together, because I take a few things and put them on paper and leave it on my desk so that it's just open during the day. And I think on paper. Ultimately ends up in my digital system, however. That's my process. It's intentional. I know I'm doing it. So my master is all in a digital system. And I actually am going to play with more. I've started doing it. I'm going to play with more with Google Tasks, because I want to be able to answer any question that someone would have. And I've already started setting up and started working out of Google Tasks, because I want to make sure that what I'm telling you doesn't create another point of friction. From what I've been doing over the last 3 weeks with this tool, it actually is really good. It's not fancy. It's very simple, and that's the beauty of it. It's very simple and easy, and that is what makes it a beautiful tool to use. So that is your action steps. Those are your action steps for you this week. So who has a win of the week? And while I'm waiting, I'm going to share mine. I like to share. So my win this week is, as I shared with you, I started about 3 weeks ago working with Google Task and wanted to really make sure that it would work before I set it. And I wanted specifically to start in terms of focusing on applications with something that nearly anyone can use without having to do any purchasing anything, taking a big long class to learn how to use it, listening to 15 videos. And I didn't want anyone in the community to have to do that. And so I was like, before I open my mouth, let me start using it. And so my win is I found that Google Tasks are easy, quick, and they work really well. They work really, really well. They're not the fancy dancy. You don't need fancy dancy. You need effective and something that's not going to be stressful. So there you go. While I'm waiting, I'm going to give you another couple of seconds. And I want to say hello to the cutest puppy. But I'm not saying hello to the puppy. I'm saying hello to the puppy's owner. Hello, Philip, lurking and listening. Hey, July is coming. We want to know the details so we can come support you on your live stream. I'm going to remember. I want to come support you. So please make sure we know and welcome. Glad you're here with us. So Lisa Maria said she went and looked. Thank you. You went and looked on for a grid. It didn't look like it's there where they have contacts photos. Oh, okay. Maybe I misunderstood the question earlier. So thank you. You're talking about like the application picker. It's not in the application picker. That's why I went through earlier the best way to enable it is to go to calendar.google.com, and in the left-hand side, click the checkbox that says task, and then the tray will open up on the right-hand side. If you were talking about the application picker, no, it's not in the application picker. I was thinking you were talking about if the tasks themselves ended up in the workspace, the priority workspace. So thank you, Lisa Maria, if that was it, and hopefully I answered the question. Okay. So, any other questions or any wins of the week? I'm not seeing any. So I'm not going to prolong it and keep you here tonight. I will remind you that one of the tools that we're making available to the community is this task verbs for action, which pair really well. It helps you with knowing how to, thinking through and having a reminder of making all action items very actionable, using verbs at the beginning of the thing that you're going to do and not making it an outcome, but writing it so it's something you can do. It's not the outcome you're after. It's the thing that you need to do, the physical action you need to take. The outcome is separate from the action. So this tool's available. You can scan the QR code that's on the screen, or you can go to my Buy Me a Coffee page. It's right there. It's free to the community, and download it. Awesome. And we do have a win of the week to share. I'm going to come back. And this was awesome. Tech Troublemaker was on another show interview, and it was awesome. And yes, it was. I got a chance to check that out, and it was really, really great. And Lisa Maria, thank you for being so kind. This was great. Really appreciate you. Thank you. I appreciate you all because you don't have to give me your time, and I treasure it. And Tech Troublemaker is sharing how at Claire Sarah, the channel that he was on, it's another person who talks about being a YouTube creator. And I believe she's in the UK. I think she's in the UK. So there you go. That's it, you guys. When you consistently use this tool, Google Task, and it will help you improve your overall productivity. It will give you a clear roadmap. Using it will reduce your stress and keep your energy up. And it will help you to get through that big load of work that we all carry around every day. So that's it. That's all, everybody. I don't want to keep you here. I'm going to say to you, good night. Have a great weekend. It's Memorial Day. Enjoy. I still do it wrong. There will be another video up here. Actually, I'm going to link to the playlist for Understanding Task Management for the month of May. In June, it's going to be a whole new series. Great.